In this question, we are asked to solve for x. When you're asked to solve for x or any variable, you want to remember that you have to first get x on the side by itself, or whatever the variable is on the side by itself. In this problem, we have 2, and in parentheses, we have 3x minus 1 minus 2, in parentheses, x plus 5 equals 12. So I'm going to move from left to right, getting rid of these parentheses. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 3x minus 1. So that gives us 6x minus 2. And then I'm going to multiply negative 2 times x plus 5. So that gives me negative 2x minus 10. And then all of that equals to 12. So next thing I want to do is I want to start adding or subtracting or solving for like terms. So we have 6x minus 2x minus 2 minus 10. That all equals to 12. And 6x minus 2x equals 4x. And negative 2 minus negative 10 equals negative 12. That all equals to 12. Now I'm going to try to get x on the side by itself. To do that for this problem, I'm going to add 12 to both sides. This 12 cancels out. That leaves me with x equals 24. And to get x on the side by itself, we divide each side by x. Those 4's cancel out, so x equals 24 over 4. And to simplify that, we can just divide the numerator and the denominator by 4. And that would give us, so I'll put by 4, that gives us 6 over 1. So our answer is 6. In this problem, we are asked to find the values of x and y. And when people see equations like this, they get really nervous. It's actually pretty simple to do once you know some of the rules to follow. So this is a system of equation, and because it's a system of equation, it follows the form ax plus, change that plus, that looks like a h, plus by equals c. So once we understand that this follows that form, we need to solve this equation by using the elimination method. And to use the elimination method, you have to make sure that one pair of variables cancels to 0. So that's just a simple way of saying if we want to cancel out the x's, what number can we use to cancel that number out? If we want to cancel out the y's, what number can we use to cancel out or make it 0? So the simplest one that we can use to cancel out would be the x. And to cancel out the x value, because we have 2x and we have 4x, to cancel those out or make that 0, we can just use negative 2 for that top number to turn 4x or 2x into a negative 4x. So that would be negative 4x. So if you added minus 4x plus 4x, that cancels out to 0. So what we're going to do is, since we know that negative 2 cancels out that x variable, we are going to plug that minus 2 into that top equation to be able to cancel out x completely. So again, we're going to use -2. We're going to use this -2, and we're going to multiply it times this top equation. So let's go ahead and do that number. I'm going to get rid of some of these notes over here. So just remember, we're going to use a -2, and we're going to multiply it times that top equation. So -2 times 2x plus 5y equals 19. So that gives us -4x minus 10y equals minus 38. So now that we have -4x minus 10y equals minus 38, then we can solve for the variable, the y variable, because we're going to cancel out the x variable. So let me go ahead and get rid of this. Now we're going to use that bottom equation to solve for y, and we have 4x plus 3y equals 17. That gives us, so the x's cancel out, and that gives us minus 7y equals minus 21. And we need to solve for y, or find y. And to do that, we divide each side by -7. And y, if you do that and you divide 21 minus 21 divided by -7 is equal to a positive 3. So we know that y equals 3. So after we get that y value, now we can just plug it into one of the equations and then find out what the x value is. So let's go ahead and plug it into that top equation. It's a little bit of a smaller number. So we have 2x plus 5, and we know that y equals 3, so instead of putting the y there, we're going to actually put a number in there. And now all of that equals to 19. All right, 2x. Now we need to multiply 5 times 3. That gives us 15. That equals 19. Now we need to start getting x on the side by itself. So we need to minus 15 on each side. This cancels out. That goes to 0. So that gives us 2x equals 4. And then we need to get x on the side by itself. So we divide both sides by 2. This 2 cancels out. So that gives us x equals 2. So our answer for this would be x equals 2 and y equals 3. In this question, we are asked to, what is the largest number that still rounds to 154? So we need to round to the nearest ones place. And when we do that, we look at the number to the right of the ones place, because that's what it's pretty much asking us for. If that number is 0 to 4, number stays the same. If the number is 5 or above, round up. So just remember that. I'm going to erase this. And we're going to look at each one of these answers or options to see which one is the largest number that we can use to still round to 154. So this first one, if we look at the number in the ones place, is a 3. That's a terrible arrow. Let's try it again. So we're going to look at this number here, the 3. And because the 3 is in the ones place, we look to the number to the right of that number. That number is a 6. So that means that the 3 will round up, and that will equal to 154. And the next number we have 154.23. So in the ones place, we have a 4. So we look to the right of the 4, and that number is a 2. So that number stays the same. So that's 154. In the next option, we have 154.52. The number to the right of the 4, which is in the ones place, is 5. So that means that we round up. So that gives us 155. And then in the last option, we have 153.61. So the number to the right of the ones place, which is the 3, is a 6. So that means that we round up. All right, so we can pretty much eliminate that one. That's gone because that's 155. We don't need 155. We want 154. So looking at this, the largest number that we can use that still rounds to 154 is going to be the number that initially has 154 in it, 154.23. And this question it's a word problem, and like I always say, whenever you're doing a word problem, you want to read through the problem first before you start making your notes. So it says Ivy spends $5.85 for 3 pounds of fruit and $9 for 2.7 pounds of vegetables. What is approximately the average cost per pound Ivy spent on fruits and vegetables? So first thing I notice is the question is asking me what is approximately. So that's kind of important. When it says approximately, that means that there's more than likely going to be some rounding involved. And then I see at the end it says fruits and vegetables, so I know some totals are going to be added together. So with that being said, we need to find out what the average cost is. And before we find out what the average cost is, we have to come up with a plan of attack and how we're going to solve it. So we're going to need an equation to use. So the equation we're going to use is average cost is equal to the total cost divided by total number of pounds. And I'm just abbreviating pounds. So that's the equation we're going to use to figure out what the average cost is. All right, so first thing we need to find out is what is the total cost? Now remember, because it's saying approximately, that means that we're going to be rounding. So the two costs that we have $9 for the vegetables, but the cost for the fruit is $5.85. So we want to round it up to the nearest dollar. So since we're rounding it up to the nearest dollar, the number that we need to round up is that 5 next to the dollar sign. So we're going to look to the number to the right of that 5, which is an 8. So that means that that number is going to round up. So that means what we're going to use is $6 for the cost uh, of the fruit. So now that we know that, or we have that rounded up, so now we add our two costs. So $6 plus $9, that equals $15. All right, next we want to come up with the total number of pounds. Again, since it says approximately, that lets me know that we're going to be doing some type of rounding. So we have 3 pounds of fruit, which we don't need to worry about adding, but we have 2.7 pounds of vegetables. So we need to round up that 2.7, and because 2, we're going to round up the 2. So we look to the right of the 2, and because that number is above 5, so 7 is larger than 5 or above 5, we need to round up. So that's going to give us 3 pounds there. So now that we have 3 pounds plus 3 pounds, that means that the total pounds is going to be 6 pounds. So we have our total cost, and then we have the total pounds. So we're going to use that original equation that I wrote first. So that's going to equal the total cost, which is $15, over the total pounds. So it's 6 pounds. Once we do that, we're going to do division. So we're going to divide 15 by 6. So 6 divided by 15. 6 can't go into 1, but 6 can go into 15. I'm going to move that down a little bit, or we should just get rid of that sign. So let's do it again. 6 divided by 15. So we can put 2 up here. 2 times 6 is 12. 15 minus 12 is 3. We could stop here because there's only one number in here that has a 2 in it, but we're going to move forward because we want to find out the approximate cost. We want to go through the whole thing. 6 can't go into 3, so what we do is we add a 0, we bring that 0 down, that's an arrow. 6 can go into, once we add that 0, we need to put a decimal place up there. 6 can go into 35 times. And 5 times 6 is 30. And we do our subtraction. So that gives us 2.50 or 2.5, which means that the average cost per pound for fruits and vegetables is $2.50. We have a word problem here, and I always recommend you always read through the word problem before you start making your notes. In 3 shifts, a worker collects 14 devices. How many devices would he collect in 18 shifts? So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can use addition, or you can use multiplication. It just depends on which one you want to do. The addition way, which is for people that don't like to do multiplication, that might be the easiest way to do it. So you pretty much know that there's a total of 18 shifts, and in this word problem it says 3 shifts. So every 3 shifts, a worker collects 14 devices. So that's 3 shifts, that's another 3 shifts, 14, another 3 shifts. That gives us 9 shifts so far. Another 3 shifts equals 14. That gives us 12 shifts. Another 3 shifts gives us 15 shifts. And another 3 shifts gives us another 14. So now we have 18 shifts. So all we have to do is add the total number of devices for each shift. So we have 28. 14 plus 14 is 28. 14 plus 14 is 28. 14 plus 14 is 28. And we add this number, 28 plus 28 is 56. And then 28 plus 56 equals 84. So the answer is 84. But there's also another way that you can find that answer, 84. And this way is a way you would use if you like using equations. Some people don't like using equations, but you can use an equation to solve this. All right, so what we know is that every shift we get 14 devices. Every 3 shifts we collect 14 devices. So what we do is we have 14 devices per 3 shifts. What we need to find out is how many devices, so that's X, can we collect in 18 shifts? All right, now that we have this set up, we're going to cross multiply. So 3x, or 3 times x, and 14 times 18. Since I need some room, I need to erase this. So we have 14 times 18 and 3 times x. So we know that 3 times x is 3x. So we're going to make a note up here. So we have 3x. But we need to know what that very large number is going to be when we multiply 18 shifts times 14 devices found. All right, so let's do our multiplication. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 3 that we just carried. That gives us 72. I'm going to erase this 3 so I don't get confused in this one and the next. All right, now that we finished multiplying the ones placed by that top number, we're going to move on to the tens place. And because we're doing that, we need to add a 0 here. Now we can start multiplying our numbers, that number in the tens place times that the top number. So 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 1 is 1. Then we add these two numbers. So 2 plus 0 is 2. 7 plus 8 is 15. We carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So now that we have that, we collected a total of 252 devices. Now we can solve for x. And to solve for x, we need to get x on the side by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this number down here, equals 252. So we get x on the side by itself. We divide each side by 3. The 3's cancel out on this, which means that x equals 252 over 3. So we need to simplify this, and we need to divide 3 divided by 252. And I'm going to go ahead and erase these numbers. And I'm going to move that 3 divided by 252 over here. So 3 divided by 252. So 3 can't go into 2, but 3 can go into 25 8 times. 8 times 3 is 24. We subtract 24 from 25. That gives us 1. We bring this 2 down. 3 can go into 12 4 times. And 4 times 3 is 12. So again, I did this problem 2 different ways, but I came up with the same answer. 84 is the answer.